Hey guys, it's Brian. Welcome to the Awards Contender. I have been thinking a lot about Sinners the last couple days. I loved this movie so much, I put up a review of it, talked about all the great things about Ryan Coogler's newest film. It's such an original, it's such a cool genre bender. We have elements of horror, we have a period drama, a story of brotherhood. Sinners has something for everyone, and I was really taken with it. Now, in my initial review, once I got to the end and talked about its awards chances, I was pretty dismissive. I was like, it's a vampire film released in April. It's not going to be an awards movie. I didn't feel it. Even though I love this movie, I was like, that would be surprising to me. My brain just immediately said, Brian, no, you've had your heart broken so many times when it comes to great horror films. I always go back to Hereditary 2018. I walked out of that movie and I said, this is one of the best films I've seen this entire decade. It deserves to be an awards contender. It should get into picture, director, screenplay. And if nothing else, if it misses everywhere, it deserves to get into Best Actress for Toni Collette. And it didn't happen, and I've seen throughout the years some really terrific horror films just go unnoticed come awards time, and many of those movies have come out in the summer or the fall. And they don't go anywhere. So I thought, okay, April release, it's very violent and scary in the second half, Sinners, right? With all of the blood and gore and the vampires, and I was like, I don't know. It would have felt weird to me in that initial review I did for Sinners to say at the end, I think this is gonna get 9 Oscar nominations. It's going to get in every possible category it can. I feel like I would have looked a little crazy there, but now that I've had a couple days to think about it, and I've read up on a few things online. I saw the box office take of this movie. Holy cow. It's very early. It might not go anywhere. But I am thinking at this moment, it's going to get in somewhere. And it could potentially be a major awards contender. I have 5 reasons. 5 reasons why I think Sinners could do well next award season. Let's start with number 1, the obvious one, right? Everybody is loving this movie. I mean, I haven't seen too many negative takes or disappointed reactions. Maybe some people might think it's overrated, but almost all of my friends, people I see on Letterboxd and online, are really loving Sinners. And so when you have a gigantic group of people, most people really loving a movie this much, that does say something about its potential awards chances, even if the film is coming out in February, in March, or April. It's possible if the amount of love is really strong and it holds on, into the next few months, it would be weird to me for this many people to adore Sinners and come January, February next year, it's just forgotten about. Nobody's talking about it. It's not getting nominated for anything. The more I think about that, I'm like, no, something's going to happen with Sinners. It could come on really strong, as I'll talk about at the end of this video, giving you the categories at the Oscars it might have a chance to get into. I'm thinking it's going to get in somewhere at least come awards time because people are really, really loving it. It got an A rating on CinemaScore, which I read is the only horror film to get an A on CinemaScore, at least in the modern era, the last few years. That's kind of crazy. That shows you the power of Sinners, how well it's working for audiences, and how well, of course, it's working for critics. It's close to 100% on Rotten Tomatoes. As of this recording, it is at 98% with 243 reviews. I mean, that's pretty freaking great for any movie. For it to get above 95% on Rotten Tomatoes and also have a lot of love with audiences, with general moviegoers, I do think that bodes well for Sinners' awards chances. Reason number 2 is the giant box office weekend Sinners just had. I think a lot of people were expecting around 25 to 30 million, which would have been a great opening weekend. For an original movie not based on IP coming out in mid-April, I think like 30 million would have been pretty strong for a film like that. But it made $45 million this past weekend. 45, which I read is the best opening weekend for an original film not based on IP since the end of COVID. Like in the last 2-3 years, that's the best any original film has done at the box office in its opening weekend. That also means big things for this film's awards chances too. I was like, okay, it can get all the great reviews, audiences can adore it. If it just does okay at the box office, it opens with like 20 to 25 million, and it hangs on into May, but by June, it's gone, and we're on to other movies. We get to the fall season, all the big awards films, October, November, December. Will enough people be talking about Sinners? I do think this film needed to open big. Like, it had to have a huge opening weekend, and it did. And I am thrilled. I am thrilled that a film like this, like a period horror drama, got $45 million opening weekend. That's pretty freaking huge. And not to say your movie needs to be big at the box office to get a bunch of Oscar nominations and things, but especially with this movie opening earlier in the year, in April, it did need to make an impression at the box office. It did. It got the reviews. Audiences love it. So you combine all of those things, and I am much more confident that Sinners could be a big awards player. Reason number 3 is Get Out. Get Out from 2017. I've been thinking a lot about that movie this weekend. After having dismissed Sinners awards chances, and I was like, I don't know, it's a horror film, it's early in the year, even though people are really loving it, I don't know if that can happen. It might be a miracle. Well, maybe we will get a miracle, kind of like Get Out, which opened in theaters, if you remember this, in February. I believe it opened the weekend of the Oscar ceremony that celebrated the films of 2016. That's how early in the year Get Out was released. And I remember seeing that in a packed theater in early March, loving it. You know, the critics went nuts for it. Audiences showed up in droves. It did so well at the box office. And I thought, could this get into Best Original Screenplay? Wouldn't that be cool? It's probably not going to happen. It's way too soon in the year. And then it did. It got into Best Original Screenplay, and it won the Oscar for that category. Jordan Peele, the movie also got into Picture, Director, Best Actor for Daniel Kaluuya. So Get Out is that prime example of a horror film released early in the year that hung on, that people kept talking about, kept sharing, kept watching all throughout 2017, getting it into the award season, getting it 4 big Oscar nominations, including a win for Best Original Screenplay. As my frequent guest, Cody Derricks, and I have talked about on the channel, we did a few videos about horror at the Oscars. Sometimes it actually helps a genre movie to come out earlier in the year, and then it builds in buzz and awareness, and people are watching it over and over and over. The love for the movie continues to grow all throughout the year. That also happened with The Silence of the Lambs in 1991. I've often said, like, if The Silence of the Lambs had come out like Christmas Day 1991, I don't know if it would have swept the Oscars the way it did. Same thing with Get Out. If that had come out in November, December 2017, maybe it wouldn't have done as well. Like, it needed that time throughout the year for everybody to find it and watch it and fall in love with it. Sinners, let's say Sinners came out in October of 2025, you could argue, well, it's closer to award season, so it would probably be good. It would be beneficial for Sinners to open later in the year. but especially because right now, there's really nothing at the theaters as of this moment that could be an awards player outside of Sinners. It kind of has the field all to itself until at least I would say the end of May, maybe June. This is kind of the only one of this part of the year that people are truly loving that could continue to be a word of mouth hit all the way to the end of the year and the beginning of award season. Maybe the April of it all isn't going to hurt Sinners that much. It might actually help it. And so, yeah, I'm feeling better about its chances, especially when I think about Get Out, which opened very early in 2017 and still went on to be an awards movie. Reason number 4 is the Academy slowly but surely embracing more horror films, giving genre movies a shot in not just, a couple below the line categories, but giving it nominations in like Best Picture, Best Director, Best Actress. I walked out of The Substance last September. I loved it. I freaking love that movie. I knew immediately it was going in my top 10 films of 2024. I thought to myself, could that be an awards movie? No. No way in hell. There's no way. It is so out there. It is so violent. It is absolute batshit crazy at the end. It's not gonna be an Oscar movie. Maybe makeup. Maybe it can get into makeup. Maybe it can win that. But any other category, I didn't really entertain it for a few weeks. I was like, there's no way. There's no way. And then The Substance got Oscar nominated for a picture, for director. It almost won actress for Demi Moore, And so we are in a different awards landscape for horror films right now. I was like, well, Sinners is a vampire movie. Like the second half has a lot of violence and carnage and vampires. Like that's not going to be an Oscar movie. But The Substance got in to picture, director, actress. And Nosferatu, which came out Christmas Day, that got 4 below-the-line categories at the Oscars. It didn't win anything. It didn't get into, picture director and things. But that was a vampire movie that got 4 Oscar nominations. And I don't think Nosferatu was as beloved a film, from audiences and critics, as Sinners is. So I'm like, well, okay. I thought the April of it all might hinder its Oscar chances. And now having thought through it, I'm like, well, actually, maybe that'll help Sinners in the long run. And then the other thing was the vampire-ness of it, the horror of it. I'm like, I don't think that'll be an Oscar movie. But then I thought about The Substance and how that did really well at the Oscars and many other award shows. And with Nosferatu also getting in, I'm like, maybe Sinners will do well next award season after all. And the 5th reason, one other thing I thought of in the last few hours, I was like, Ryan Coogler directed a film that opened in February and got a Best Picture nomination, right? Black Panther 2018. That came out in February. That was a Marvel action film. That's not your typical kind of movie that gets into the Oscars, that wins things, that gets into Best Picture. And it did. Ryan Coogler directed that. So I'm like, well, that happened for Black Panther. That won SAG Ensemble, remember that? It got a bunch of Oscar nominations. It didn't get into the acting categories. It didn't get into director. But Black Panther got into picture, man. It got into picture. So, I feel like we're having a moment with Sinners that was kind of a moment we had with Black Panther, a movie critics and audiences adored in early 2018, and that went on to be an awards film, at least to some extent. So, you take into account all 5 of those reasons I've laid out here, and I'm like, okay, maybe I was way too premature to just completely dismiss Sinners' awards chances. Maybe it will get in. Maybe it'll get a bunch of Oscar nominations. In January, we'll be like, holy shit, Sinners did great. And not only does Sinners end up getting into the Oscars, it gets into a variety of categories. It's possible. I'm still like prepared for the movie to not really go anywhere next award season. That could happen too. You know, it's not outside the realm of possibility that so many great films come out in September, October, November, December, and Sinners, like maybe it shows up in a couple categories, but it doesn't do very well. That could happen too. But I'm like, I don't know. I'm starting to turn around on this idea that Sinners could be a big awards player. These are the eight categories I think it could get into if it just exceeded our expectations. It overperformed on Oscar nominations morning. Number 1, Best Picture, of course. In a field of 10, Sinners might be one of the best reviewed films of 2025. And, you know, that's going to show for something, I think. Once we get to January, February, if the film is still being talked about, you know, and it's starting to show up places like at the Globes and Critics' Choice and things, I do think Sinners could get into Best Picture. I think Ryan Coogler has a possibility of getting into Best Director. He's never been nominated in that category. Black Panther got into picture, but not director. And Ryan Coogler has said this is like his first truly personal film, Sinners. And it's so beautifully directed. It's so well done that Coogler would have a shot at that category. I think in the acting categories, the one place that someone could show up is Best Actor for Michael B. Jordan. I think the dual performances he gives in the movie will have some buzz going into the fall and winter. And just if there's enough passion for Sinners and we want to give it a nomination in the acting categories, I think it would be Michael B. Jordan. Of course, you could also point to like Delroy Lindo, supporting actor, or Jack O'Connell, supporting actor. You could point to Haley Steinfeld, supporting actress. She is great in the movie, and she's a previous Oscar nominee. Maybe, but I don't know. I think if acting happens for this movie, it's gonna be Michael B. Jordan, who has never received an Oscar nomination, and that would be so frickin' inspired. Number 4 is Best Original Screenplay for Ryan Coogler. I think, kind of like Get Out, this would be the category it could potentially win. I do think if we want to give Sinners one big Oscar trophy, Original Screenplay could be the category. That's where we award this early in the year horror film, original, dazzling in so many ways. We give it Original Screenplay. I'm sort of feeling like if Sinners underperforms on Oscar nominations morning, it doesn't get into picture, director, actor, it could still get into Original Screenplay, right? So that's 4. What are the other 4 categories I think it could get into below the line? Best Cinematography, of course. The look of this movie is sensational. It's shot on IMAX cameras. The cinematography of Sinners is out of this world great. So I think that would probably happen. Costume design, it's a period film. I do think the costumes are great, and that would probably be nominated. Makeup and hairstyling, because of all the makeup effects in the second half. This past year in makeup, we had both Nosferatu and The Substance get in. The Substance won, of course. So horror films do well in the makeup category, and Sinners, I feel like, if it were to get into a bunch of places, it would probably get into makeup. And then our new category, Best Casting. I think the ensemble of Sinners is outstanding. Everybody feels right for their characters. There's a lot of great performances here, some smaller performances than others, and, you know, it's a big variety of characters in Sinners. But I think when we're talking about best casting and we're looking to see, like, how do we fill up the category, we are going to look to the best reviewed films of the year, the movies everybody really loves, that has a terrific ensemble. And as I talked about in my initial review of Sinners, I said if I could give this movie one Oscar nomination, it would be Best Casting. I think the casting job on this movie was awesome, was pitch perfect. And so that's 8 categories right there, 8, that I could potentially see happen. If this movie just continues to be one of everyone's favorites of 2025, and let's say come November, December, we have a lot of big heavy hitter awards movies, but there's some wiggle room, you know? There's room for a 9th, a 10th film to break in. Something that's not like the most standard kind of awards player, something that has more genre elements and things. I do feel like Sinners could be one of those titles for 2025. So I don't know. We will see. I am optimistic, definitely more so than I was like 2 days ago. The more I've thought about this, I'm like, maybe Sinners could get into the Oscars, and how freaking amazing would that be? That would be so well deserved for what I do think is the first great film of 2025. These are not like predictions. I'm not predicting right now it's going to get 8 Oscar nominations. I'm just saying it could happen. It could happen in a few months' time, and that would be so great for a film that is definitely going to be one of my top 10 favorites of 2025. Sinners, man. Ryan Coogler's Sinners. If you haven't seen it yet, do yourself a favor and check it out. This is one phenomenal movie that may just be an awards contender. Thanks so much for watching and subscribing, and let me know in the comments below, do you think Sinners could get in at the Oscars? Are there any other categories it might have a chance? I'll see you next time at the Awards Contender.